Hey folks, Coach Patrick here from Endurance Nation. If you found this video, then odds are you've been reading my blog post, which is entitled Top 10 Reasons Why You'll Never Peak for Your Big Triathlon. And so I'm not going to repeat myself here, but I am going to talk to you a little bit about sort of the underlying reasons why people are unable to peak. And when it comes to multisport and triathlon and the lifestyle that triathletes lead, the number one reason why people don't peak and why they don't understand why they're not peaking is simply fatigue. The way that we go through our lives, the amount of stress that we have on a daily basis, from work and family and all the other things that we do outside of triathlon, plus the triathlon training we're doing, especially if you are being aggressive or trying to up your game and maybe set a PR this season. All of that stress combined is far greater than what the average pro triathlete who only has to eat, sleep, train, and repeat has to go through. And that stress really inhibits your body's ability to absorb the work. In other words, anyone can go out and run 10 miles fast. You run it at 6-minute miles, I can find someone who runs it in 5. But that doesn't mean that person's absorbing that work. Absorbing that work requires time to recover, time to process, and then time to work again, right? We're looking for a positive adaptation for this work. And the majority of triathletes live in a world where positive adaptations are not only hampered, but sometimes impossible, just given the constraints in which we work and play. And so when you're looking at your year and trying to figure out how can you improve, don't go the typical way of saying, well, all right, I want to be better next year. And let me look back at my book here and see, and last year I biked, 3,000 miles. If I want to be better, probably this year I should bike 4,000 miles. Okay, done. Next, looks like last year I ran, 800 miles. And about 100 of those were really fast. I think next year I should run 1,000 miles and do 200 fast. Sounds good, right? You do that kind of macro level, big planning thing, and when you break it down week by week, it's even more work than you were doing now. So stop yourself right now and say, okay, if I need to get better, how can I do a better job of recovering from or resting from the work I'm doing to process it? Okay? Getting better is not doing more, giving up more, buying more. A lot of times doing better simply means absorbing more, taking in more, okay? So make time for that first. Do that, and if your results don't improve based off of the work that you're already doing, then it's time to go to the drawing board. But most triathletes don't have the time, the wherewithal, the awareness, or quite frankly, the courage to take a look at their recovery and say, am I doing this right? Am I doing it right to make sure that I'm maximizing my training? Because we're all scheduling into Outlook or Google Calendar. All of our workouts are trying to jam all the stuff into our days. We stay up late at night so we can get work done. You're getting up crazy early to work out. You're trying to do homework with your kids. You're trying to be great at your job. You're volunteering in the community. You have a spouse or a partner that you're trying to support as well. All of that comes into play. And that pressure, that stress builds to a point where you can't really absorb that work. So I can't emphasize that enough, okay? That's the number one thing you need to look at. And the number two thing that I think is super important, whether or not you saw it in the points, is simply benchmarking where you are and not going out and looking at your last fastest race result and saying, I'm a 4-hour marathoner, so that's who I am. Because that's who you were when you raced, but that's not who you are now 6 months later. Benchmarking comes down to understanding where you are, I think, on a daily or at least weekly basis, okay? I personally am a bit of a data geek, and I've got a spreadsheet where I track everything from weight to push-ups to my mood on the day to the hour I woke up to the hours of sleep that I got, all sorts of different metrics. All of that goes into a spreadsheet where I can track my workouts, my workout time, my performance, and a bunch of other notes. And those basic daily metrics give me a sense of how I'm performing. As a bonus, it also helps me do a better job of performing. If I'm writing down how many push-ups I did or how few I did or how much core work or swim chords work I did or didn't do, that motivates me to do more, right? I'm on the ball for that. But it also gives me a very good picture of where I'm at. And a lot of times, triathletes avoid taking a good hard look inside. It's easier to say, well, I swim with the fast group or I run with my buddy who runs a 3-hour marathon, so I must be a 3-hour marathoner. But that's not really you. And looking at you in that one moment, that one slice of time at that race is not really indicative of who you are on a daily basis. So getting to know yourself on that daily basis or at least a weekly basis and tracking some of those key metrics is a great way to sort of build a better understanding of who you are and then leverage those numbers and that knowledge of yourself to become a better triathlete, okay? Because again, knowledge is power. You can't buy that. I can buy a carbon widget, but let me tell you, you and I both know, we've seen some very expensive bikes still in transition long after the swim has ended, right? I've seen some very expensive bikes as I'm hitting the turnaround at mile 13 of an Ironman run, and these people are finishing their bikes at 4 o'clock, right? Expensive bling, spending money, anyone can do that. But do you have the ability, you know, the drive, the discipline to track those numbers and really get to know yourself and then use that information to be your best? You can do that. Guaranteed you're going to have a fantastic season and move way beyond not only what you thought was possible, but to a place where you could be, you know, super powerful as a triathlete or perhaps even beyond. Who knows? Maybe you'll pick up 3 more new things to do, right? Okay. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Coach Patrick from Endurance Nation. You can find out more triathlon tips and resources online on our website at www.endurancenation.us. Thanks, folks. Take care. I'll see you guys online or at the races.